That's a lot of Black Widows. Did you know that Hasbro made this many Black Widow figures? Surprise, they didn't, because maybe half of these, I didn't even bother counting. Half of these I've made myself, and they're custom made figures, and the other ones are officially released. And I'm a little crazy, and this is probably the last time I'll do something like this. Hi, welcome back. I'm Ninja Chortle, and today we're going to do this thing that I've been wanting to do for several months. I've had this video in the works for several months and wanting to do this like since last year and do a showcase of all of the Black Widows that I own, including the ones that I've made. Now, I wanted to do this last year, but I didn't have all of these customs made last year. I made some of these this year. In fact, I made all of these last year or this year, but I wanted to do a showcase of all of these figures before I made these customs, and then I made the customs a few months ago, and then like last month I decided I am done with Marvel Legends and I don't want to collect them anymore. So the long story short, most of these I'm going to actually get rid of and sell. I'm going to keep some of them. You can kind of see the remnants of what I have of Marvel Legends back there. But for the most part, I can make a whole shelf of just Black Widow, and that's too much Black Widow. So I'm going to get rid of quite a few of these. I do want to go over them individually. Of course, again, some of these you probably already own. They are officially released figures, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about those. But I do want to do a quick little Black Widow highlight. One notable missing figure is the movie Black Widow white costume. I never bought that from Hasbro. I never bought the Marvel Legends. So definitely not talking about that one today. But other than that, let's go ahead and get this thing started. We're going to start with the MCU figures, because who watches MCU anything right now? Movies, Disney Plus? No, nobody cares about the MCU right now. So let's just go ahead and start with them. All right, we'll start with actually one of the more recently released figures. This is the Avengers / Winter Soldier, the Infinity Saga Black Widow that came out, I believe, was a year ago. So this is an updated version of the original Black Widow of that Mandroid wave, like from the Winter Soldier many years ago. Updated with new arms that are double jointed and pinless, updated with the new photoreal tech on the eyes, and they updated the upper torso so that it's more modern and has like a neck hinge and something like that. You know, it's just a little bit updated, but for the most part the lower torso and the legs and the shoes are all the same as it was before, and this figure still sucks. I must say, that's why you see it on this figure stand. I spent maybe 10 minutes trying to get this thing to stand up, and this is relatively brand new. I did buy it when it came out, so maybe a few months afterward, but I never actually displayed it because of not having room. So it went in storage, and I've only really had it out and it's standing up just recently, pretty much just for this video. I'm definitely getting rid of this, but yeah, it still kind of sucks. Like, it's nice for the update, and the extra head sculpt for the Winter Soldier is nice. The face looks really good, but that's about it. It still kind of sucks because of how scrawny the ankles are, how bad the shoes are, etc. This isn't really a figure review, but I'm just frustrated with just trying to get this to stand up for that opening shot that I did for this video, and then it wouldn't stand up at all. So I had to use a figure stand. So yeah, au revoir, Black Widow Infinity Saga figure. I do not want to keep you. You will be on an eBay listing very soon. Alright, next up we have my custom Black Widow that I made for Winter Soldier specifically. So this one, is, I think, a much improved version of what you just saw, even though it's not double jointed and pinless. It is kind of a common theme, but I will say that I really, really enjoy the body mold, the suit design, and the way Hasbro handled the Infinity War slash Endgame Black Widow. So that's the buck that I'm using on this. I think that is like the quintessential MCU Black Widow look, is basically how she looked like in Infinity War. So that is this. Again, this is the Infinity War buck taking the vest off. But as far as these arms go, you can see it has a shield symbol there. These arms are from that Mandroid Wave Black Widow. So they are a little on the shrimpy side, but they have that shield logo decal on there. Definitely something I didn't want to paint by hand or try to figure out some other kind of way. So I just went ahead and used those arms. The hands, though, I did have to put better hands on there. They're a little awkward, a little beat up, or not beat up, but they're big compared to these arms, and I custom painted that. So the head also, I'll get back on focus here, hopefully. Come on, focus me. Here we go. The head is also the Infinity War Black Widow. I do feel that that's also one of the better head sculpts that they had for Black Widow, but this is still taking the hair from that Mandroid Wave Black Widow, the Winter Soldier hair, and I just glued it right on. It fits like a glove. It's a pretty perfect, really, fit. So if you wanted to do that yourself, it's pretty easy. Just as long as you take the hair off from each of the figures' heads, and then just do the hair transplant, put some glue on it, and it's doable. It looks like this. It really wasn't, I didn't have to fill any, like make the head bigger or smaller or do anything else like that. The skin matches because it's, the head that goes with this body anyway. So I just painted the hands so that they try to match. And that's about it. This is really a simple swap. Everything else is just Black Widow Infinity War, just without the vest. All right, next up, remember how I was saying I used the Mandroid Wave, the Winter Soldier hair on the Black Widow prior? Well, here's the other hair for the shorter hair sculpt that was Avengers, basically Black Widow. I made my own Age of Ultron Black Widow. So Hasbro totally made a Age of Ultron Black Widow figure, but they didn't put it in any wave. They put it in like a 4 or 5 pack that was like the only way to get the Avengers Hawkeye, which I still think they need to work on and getting that version out so other people can actually have Avengers costume Hawkeye. It had Bruce Banner and I believe Thor and I don't know. It didn't matter. That Black Widow sucks also. It looks really, really bad. I never owned that figure, but I always wanted to have a Age of Ultron Black Widow. So after all these years, I decided to just go ahead and make one, even though I don't know if I'm going to keep this or not. I'm still kind of in the air about it. But like I said, took that hair, that short hair from the Mandroid Wave Black Widow, and put it on the Infinity War buck. So this is still the Infinity War Black Widow body, legs, lower legs, upper legs, lower torso, upper torso, and just in the head as well, the head sculpt and all of the paint. And I did not touch the face whatsoever or any of the flesh tone, the eyes or any of that, and just put that hair, it fit like a glove, just like I said before, just do a hair transplant. So the only difference here is obviously the blue highlights. I painted those myself, and the arms, all of her gauntlets and stuff. So the red part is obviously painted by me. So actually, let's talk about the whole arm itself. The entire arm is actually, the arm is, because you might be able to see some of the details there, and maybe I sanded it a little too hard, but you can see some fabric ripples there. Those arms are from the Moira McTaggart figure from the House of X-Men stuff. So she has swappable arms. Those arms are what you see here, but painted black. And then the red parts on there, I took Procreate putty and wrapped that around her arms, so that way it'll expand a little bit easier when putting the hands in there. That's the only reason why I use that material in particular. But obviously painted that red and then hand sculpted the actual gauntlets themselves and hand painted those. So not the most detailed gauntlets in the world, but something that will do. And you could still use the arms that actually are on the Infinity War Black Widow if you wanted to, and just try to work around that and just paint those. That would work too, but I wanted something a little bit more effort into it. But I still, again, like the way it came out. You see the blue going up and down the sides of her torso there. All of the blue has a gloss finish to it. It's very, very minor, but it is there. And then like a satin finish on the red there, and then you have blue also on her legs, or not just the legs, it's just on the knees. I actually don't remember if they're supposed to be blue down there or not, but obviously the knees definitely were lighting up blue. So these are still the same kneecaps, knee pads that are on the Infinity War Black Widow, but just sanded them a little bit and then gave them a little bit of a blue paint on them, and then I did a black wash on top of the blue paint, and then took lighter blue paint and painted the X's and painted all around there, and then put gloss on that so that it's not gonna glow, but it is shinier than just putting matte finish or anything like that on it. So that was the attempt, is to try to make it glow or have a glowing like appearance. But yeah, I can only do so much unless there's like blue glowing paint, which maybe there is, but I don't have it. So, but still, I enjoy how this turned out. All right, and now we're here. We finally actually made it to the Infinity War Black Widow. I really loved her look in that movie, and again, I really enjoyed the book that Hasbro made, the face sculpt and the eye applications. Really love this hair. I've used this hair on multiple customs and possibly using it on future customs. I've also used this vest on someone that I just made recently. If you're on my community page on my YouTube channel, you might have seen that figure already, or possibly seen it on my Blue Sky account. But I will be posting that figure next. Back to Black Widow though. Nothing changed here, nothing modified. This is just the Infinity War Black Widow, and I really like it. And now in-game Black Widow, which most people have already done this if you really wanted a in-game Black Widow, but they had those time heist team suits where they were going through, you know, the multiverse or whatever. And the Marvel Legends had those as a release, and they had extra heads in there for male and female bucks, and one of the heads was the in-game Black Widow. They still should have done an official release for this, but this is the only way to have an in-game Black Widow, is to buy that pack that had this head in it, and then take the Infinity War Black Widow and take the vest off and put this head on that body, and then boom, this is all that you need to do to get the in-game Black Widow. The flesh tones don't match between the head and the chest, but it's not such a big deal, especially since you just want to have something on your shelf representing in-game Black Widow. But again, they should have, and even should have gone back and made something official for her. But like I said, also, if you were trying to do your own Age of Ultron, you could just use these arms and not do what I did and make your own sculpt. These arms are totally fine. You can just repaint them, add some red there, and paint them the way you like them to, and they will work just fine. And rounding out the MCU, we have Black Widow movie figure. Like I said, I don't have the white one, and we're not going to talk about Yelena Belova. We're here for Natasha, so we're not worried about her or any comic book version of Yelena. As far as that goes, like I said, I don't have the white version, so that's the only one that I'm really missing. And then I obviously got rid of my Mandroid one and re-customized that. Overall, great costume. I think it's a great looking figure. Not really much to say about this right now, but I will come back to this in a moment. All right, so we're going to actually bridge the gap between comic book and movie because this is video game. This is the only game one that I have, but this is going to be my custom-made Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite Black Widow. I really, really, really love how this turned out. I'm not 100% sure on the colors, but at the same time, I think it works. Like, I've used the reference images that I could, and obviously have the game, and I've played the game, but it's just sometimes hard to interpretate what the colors are intended to be. So you see a lot of gray on here, and there's like a light gray you can see here, and then this is more of a neutral gray. At least that's the color that I used when I was painting it. And then you see the blacks and the blues. So it's very much like a Age of Ultron look to it, and I also put gloss finish on all of the blues so that they are more shiny. You can't really glow, but did the best I can. But yeah, just looking at it in the actual game and stuff, it does kind of come off as like a darker gray, not necessarily black type of color. So maybe this isn't dark enough gray, but I do like this as an homage to her gray suit. And also I made a gray suit Black Widow using the same gray, so I wanted them to match. So that's one reason why this gray is the way that it is. I could have gone darker if I wanted to, but I think this really looks cool the way that it is. Now let's go ahead and talk about the build, because this is a brand new custom. I've never really shown this off to anyone, so let's go ahead and take a closer look. Her feet are the shoes from the Athena MCU Eternals movie. Those are these shoes here, and added a little sculpt for that buckle there. The lower legs are just standard black Kate Bishop legs, but I added sculpt to get this boot here, so you can see the little different sculpt at the bottom. So I sculpted all of that on there at the bottom for that boot look. All of these details of the color are just painted on. Then these like knee pad things right here, that's also sculpted on right there. I just sculpted on top of regular knees, so they're nothing special there. Epoxy sculpt for that stuff. Then these thighs are the thighs for a Spider-Man No Way Home MJ, those thighs. Right, I use those a lot, and I've said that before. I'm going to say it a lot going forward, but I'm using those thighs because I think they work really well for this. Specifically, the gun straps here are all sculpted onto her thighs, so they're not loose and flowing like a Black Widow figure from like the MCU would be. I didn't want that, and it's a lot easier to handle this when it's you got to put it together and customize it and stuff, when it's just hard sculpted on, as opposed to being attached. And I'm not going to get into it right now. I tried to make holsters here. That's what this big patch right here is. It was meant to hold the guns that she's supposed to have. I didn't end up giving her guns because I didn't really do holsters very well. They look pretty bad, or at least they're not very functional, so they're just kind of there. It's unfortunate, but it didn't really turn out too good, but that's okay because she's got these batons. So these are still the same batons that came with the Infinity War Black Widow, but I just repainted them, and again, the blue on the batons, all of it's really glossed. I just put blue and gray in there, so they can attach together and all of that, but no need. Her wrists have the gauntlets on there. Those again are sculpted by myself. Not the most detailed sculpt on her, well, whatever you call this part there. It's just kind of there. Honestly, I did the best I could. It's kind of hard to get all of those types of details in there, but did my best. So the whole overall lower torso and upper torso are from a Mockingbird. I think it's also from the Android Wave, isn't it? I believe the Mockingbird figure. Upper and lower torso is Mockingbird. I sanded down a little bit of the details on there and was able to add the sculpt for all of these different belt pieces here. So you know, this zigzag here, this little circle here, her widow symbol on her belt buckle there, all of that. The chest is normally different on the what you call it, Mockingbird, so I had to make a custom sculpt there. Just took the Dremel and dremeled that down, and you'll see it when it comes back around in a second. Sometimes I wish this was faster, and sometimes I wish it was slower. But yeah, I dremeled some of the detail down off the Mockingbird there, and then filled it in with sculpt to get it to be more, you know, how Black Widow looks in the game. Shoulders also have sculpt on it right here, as well as right on top there, so the black part's sculpted, and so is that gray. And all of this cloth ripples on her back, that is just there from Mockingbird. The collar is just there from Mockingbird. The head itself is one of the extra heads from the bike Black Widow. It's, I can't remember, I think it's probably one of the shorter hairs, but it doesn't really matter. It's one of those heads. I did repaint it so it's a darker skin tone, or just the same skin tone as what I painted her chest, so they can all match. And then the hair comes from the last release of the super articulated Black Widow. I took one of those hairs and plopped it on here, so it's not exactly how her hair looks like in the game, but it's pretty close, and it's still pretty stylish and looks pretty good to me, so I'm fine with it. I did not paint the eyes at all, but all of the rest of her face is painted by me. Alright, so now we have more of a classic Black Widow look. I'm going to get her head to come down just some. Very simple. Very, very simple. I was initially going to make all of my Black Widows like this. And that is, one, these are pinless legs. These are not your old, not your grandma's legs. These are the new pinless legs here. And I was going to just go ahead and do, you know, oh, I have plenty of these black legs. I can just use them on any black buck and just make a bunch of Black Widows like this, instead of using those MJ legs as I was talking about previously. I was just going to do this, but I'm very particular. Although I still really like the way this looks, I think she's too tall. Black Widow should be a little shorter than this to me. But if I were going to make stuff for all of you guys, because most of you would probably expect a custom of Black Widow to look like this, or to be on the super articulated buck, which I don't blame you. I understand. I still like this, and I'm going to keep her like this. She also has the double jointed pinless arms, but I do think she's a little too bulky, but that's a personal preference to me. Another personal preference is her head choice. As the motorcycle goes by really loudly, her head choice, I used one of the extra head sculpts from the bike Black Widow right on time, that motorcycle. I prefer this one over the newer super articulated one that has the photorealistic eyes and all that jazz, and all the lighter hair color red is more realistic and this stuff. I prefer this one, actually. I like this as more, it looks like it came out of a comic book. It looks better to me. I prefer her with the lighter skin tone. I prefer her with this style of hair and hair color. So I like the way this looks a lot. Very simple. So this is actually on, though, the body itself. Again, the lower legs, the legs itself, the pinless legs are from the Shriek figure. But the upper and lower torso are actually from that retro carded Black Widow that looks like Mary Jane, or the one that Mary Jane looks like Black Widow, that head. So this is actually that body. Same thing with the accessories, the belt, and just the belt actually is from that Black Widow. The gauntlets are from the gray suited Black Widow right here. So I just took those. So this gold does not match this at all. They're different in color, but you know, not a big deal to me. And then I believe the gun came from the Deadly Origin Black Widow, so it has the long silencer on it there. So but to achieve this, I actually have to remove the legs from off of that old retro carded Black Widow to put these pinless legs on there. I'm not going to go through that process here. If you want me to do that on video, I can show you how I do it, but you have to request it. I'm not gonna make this video any longer than it already is. But again, pinless arms, pinless legs, very simple, no paint required. I literally did this in 5 minutes, 5 minutes of my time, and I was able to do this. I might consider making a bunch of these and putting them on eBay, but I also know that most people would rather have the super articulated Black Widow, so I'm kind of like, I don't know, maybe not. Let me know. Would you be interested in Black Widow looking like this? One of the reasons why, and I'll get into it. Actually, you know what? I'll save it for the next part. I'll save it. All right, so now we have the bike Black Widow, but this one is more of a custom, although I didn't do a whole lot of changes to it. It is customized. One of the changes that I made, it has the actual holster here for, or strap, I don't know what you call these things, but this back strap, it came from the Domino figure, so it's already black. I didn't paint anything or do anything like that. Just took it straight off of Domino and put it on my Black Widow. Secondly, she has guns now, because this figure had gun trigger hands, but they did not give her guns. I don't know why. They did not give her any guns, so I got her dual wielding guns, matching guns, and they look really cool with this figure in my opinion. And that's all that I really did. I went with this short haircut style because that's how she looked when she was wearing this outfit in the comics. And then the bike is still back there. I have it on shelf, but for the most part, yeah, that's all that there is to it. This is on the way. This is like how they modified the this body basically for the now super articulated Black Widow. I still really like this figure, but I kind of, it's like I want to keep it, but I don't. But I'll have to debate that on my own. Still really love adding this strap there. It makes it pop so much more. Makes her look a lot cooler. All right, now finally talking about the super articulated Black Widow. So it's, again, you can see it's the same buck, but they added that diaphragm cut there, and then the butterfly joints there, the double jointed pinless arms, the double jointed pinless legs, and all that stuff. Everyone's favorite Black Widow. Guess what? I don't think it's all that great, because why? Right there, that right there, missing in action, MIA. Where is it? Where's her butt? That's why. That's honestly, if they had just gave her a better butt, I would like this figure a lot more. But in general, I don't care for it all that much. It's great for posing, so don't get me wrong. If you're interested in that aspect of it, it's a great action figure. It's a fantastic action figure. I don't pose very often. I just want it to look good on my shelf. So this isn't disappointing. It's just not what I want. That said, it's still a great figure. I most likely am going to sell this one because, like I said, that's not how I made my figures. I want them to have a little bit more going on. One criticism, though, I would say, one thing I don't like, as you see all of this great fabric detail on the torso, right? It looks really good. That's really good, really nice. But then you got these plain legs that are, like, if you paint them any flesh tone, they're just going to look like naked bare legs. And that doesn't make any sense to me. Same thing with the arms. Why would you make the arms completely like regular arms and stuff? Well, I wish this thing would focus on the subject. Yeah, sorry. I don't know why they make complete like bare arms and then bare legs, but then put like a bodysuit. They could have just made double jointed arms that are pinless, that are for regular arms, bare arms, and then make a separate set that are for bodysuits or sleeves or what have you, and then use them appropriately. But they don't do that at Hasbro. So that's my real criticism of this figure, is that they're mixing and matching things that they should not and making it cheap. Yeah, that's pretty much my biggest criticism of the actual figure, though. Give her clothed arms and clothed legs because she's wearing a bodysuit. It's not her painted skin, you know. Either way, good figure, not my favorite. One of my favorites is this gray suit Black Widow, which is a custom by me, because although there is that this is basically the gray suit Black Widow that came out, the Walmart exclusive, but that had the jacket and the backpack, the jetpack and all that stuff, and it's super cool. But I definitely prefer her without the jacket, and I'm surprised that they didn't make a variant of that, or even surprised that they chose the jacket over this. I think this is way more better looking and of a costume. Just the costume, not even talking about my custom here. Just without the jacket looks way better, especially if you're going for that Uncanny X-Men, was it 269, I believe, cover that has Captain America and Wolverine and Black Widow. She looks like this on that cover, and this exactly was my inspiration for making this, and that's why this Black Widow, the spider on her back, is so big. What's funny is, yeah, do I still have it? I don't think I have it anymore, or right now available, but that spider on the official release from Hasbro with the jacket is only on her lower back, and it's like, like this size, about the size of half of my finger. So me blowing it up and making it bigger was so satisfying. It looks so much better that way. Now, unfortunately, I didn't have a very small brush, so the spider on her chest looks terrible. But I have bought smaller brushes since then, so maybe I can actually make more of these and make it look better than it does here. Either way, this is all just neutral gray painted on, again, the same legs of the MJ No Way Home spider. These thighs here, just some standard Kate Bishop calves, some standard feet, and so on. These are bodysuit arms because she's wearing a bodysuit, so you can see some cloth detail right here and right there. It makes sense to me. Don't need it to be double jointed and pinless because I just want it to look good. A standard Kate Bishop buck. The pin on her hips is actually smaller. It's a shorter pin, not the standard size. So she's not super curvy. I didn't want her to be super curvy, basically. And then her head and her hair are completely untouched. I did not modify her hair, her face whatsoever. Did not paint any of that in there. Only thing I painted was the gray around her neck, so that all of the paint is the same. But this is how I think they should have released this figure. She still has all of the accessories, all of the gauntlets and stuff. This is probably my favorite thing of all of the Black Widows that I've made and have. I think this is my favorite one that I have. It's simple, but yet, yeah, she's not even wearing black, but I really, really dig how this looks, especially because of how great her hair sculpt is. So I didn't have to touch any of that. Very simple figure, but yeah, definitely my fave. All right, another one of my tops, but not necessarily fave, but it's up there, is my Black Widow of Deadly Origin. Now, I made a Deadly Origin Black Widow. This was the real reason why I've decided to do all these Black Widows. The highest viewed video on my channel is my Deadly Origin custom Black Widow. That basically was, let me give her boobs. And y'all showed up in droves and watched the hell out of that video, at least even for maybe 10 seconds, but y'all watched that video. Y'all really, really like Black Widow and her chest. Because that's all I did in that video. All that custom was just giving her cleavage. It was not a great custom. It really wasn't. But I decided I wanted to remake that custom because I can do better, and I think I have. I really do think I've improved. So it's actually using the same upper torso that I was using in that video, which is the Dazzler, what is that? Warpath, no, Warlock, excuse me. Warlock, Build-A-Figure, Wave, Dazzler. So the classic 70s Dazzler. That's what this chest is. But modified. So I actually ripped, her collar on that Dazzler is like pegged in there, so you have to pull it out. So I pulled it out fully. This is the exact same chest I used on that other Black Widow, the original one that I made. So all of that stuff got ripped out. You don't have to do that, and I will show you why shortly, but you do have to fill in her chest because there's going to be big holes in there. So to fill in the holes in her chest, I had to put in epoxy sculpt and shape it and smooth it out. Didn't do a great job of that, to be honest with you, but it's still pretty good looking overall. And then painted black, you can see some of the silver there. That's meant to be like zippers, because I didn't feel like actually sculpting zippers on there, so we're just going to pretend that the silver there is for zippers. And then all of her gauntlets and belt, those are just straight from the actual official release of the white Deadly Origin Black Widow. You can see a little metal just as a jump ring. It's called a jump ring. I went to Michael's and bought a bunch of jump rings, and that one's just glued on there, so it's a pretend zipper. Everything else is just your standard stuff, like I was saying before, standard K-Bishop legs and flats, the MJ No Way Home thighs, again shorter pins so she's not super curvy in the hips, and all this is black with a gloss finish. Before I was using Mod Podge. When I made the first Black Widow, I was using Mod Podge, and it was just matte finish, and it just looked shiny because Mod Podge matte finish is shiny. This isn't Mod Podge, this is something else entirely, but it is intended to be a gloss finish with a matte finish on her skin tone. So this is also still using the Deadly Origin head from the original release. So the only thing that's modified it on her head is her paint on her face, because I have to paint her chest, and her skin tone on that head would be way different, so I ended up painting her chest and her face so that they match. Ended up repainting her eyeshadow as well, because it would be too hard to paint around that, so just painted over her eyeshadow, and then her flesh tone, and then added my own eyeshadow, so that way her face pops a little bit more than just not having it there at all. Really dig the way this looks, and I definitely need to start putting more eyeshadow on my figures going forward, because I really love the way this turned out. Alright, with that one in the can, we have the white version. It's the exact same figure that I just described, but I gave her the rifle instead of smaller guns, but it's literally the same thing. But instead of white, I used off-white, so Vallejo acrylic paint off-white, so it's not a bright white. I kind of regret that, but at the same time I still kind of like that it's not a bright white. On camera it looks pretty white, but it is officially off-white. It's just all of the lighting making it a lot brighter than normal. But yeah, still the same buck as I was just described on the black version. All the same accessories from the original Black Widow Deadly Origin, cloth arms and stuff like that, cloth details all here on the thighs and stuff from the MJ figure. Still the jump ring for the zipper, the faux, the painted on zippers and stuff like that. Everything's the same. Repainted the face and the chest so that they match. Everything is the exact same, except for on the collar, like I was saying before, on that Dazzler figure. This is still that same Dazzler figure. The collar does pop up like this, but it also has a second piece of the collar that lays flat on the chest. So that's what I ripped out, was the flat part of the collar that lies on her chest, and fills that in so her chest is normal looking. But I was able to keep the collar that pops up there, so you don't have to do that work like I did on the black one, where I actually had to sculpt this in myself. But that's it. That's the only real difference. All right, last but not least is one of the reasons why I also wanted to make a bunch of Black Widows. This is Hellfire Gala 2023, 22, 23, 22, 2022 Hellfire Gala Black Widow, because everyone in Hellfire Gala kind of didn't make it out the end of 2023. Either way, so yeah, I was really wanting to have Hellfire Gala figures. I've already made a Jean Grey Hellfire Gala. Which one was that? 2021. I've made that I made that video months ago, and I wanted to make a bunch of Hellfire Gala stuff. Since then, I kind of don't want to make Hellfire Gala stuff anymore, but I still made this months ago. She's not perfect, but it's also not very complicated of a figure either way. You can see the gold on her wrists, or on her hands and on her neck. Just a little bit of sculpting there. She does have some goofy looking sculpt on her feet, because that is how it was designed, to have something pointing, protruding upward off of her heels. I believe, was she the one that's supposed to have a double pointed heel as well on the bottom? I think so. I can't quite remember if it was her, or if I'm thinking about Fran from Final Fantasy 7, or excuse me, 12. Either way, it's just the same buck that I just described multiple times over. Get that to focus for you. Sorry, but yeah, same buck. Other than the chest is just a standard chest from like Shikla, so it doesn't have the collar and all of that stuff. Basically a whole black body. And then this one is double jointed pinless, because that's also from, as I said, Shriek, not Shikla, from Shriek, the Shriek figure. And there goes my focus. All right, so now we have just painted on her chest. I don't remember exactly the color of red. I think it's vermilion, but I could be wrong. I have that on the back of her legs. I have that on her chest. I believe it's also on the front of her legs too. It is, and a little bit on the shoes. But for the most part, the little bit of darker red here for these little smudges. The smudges on her legs are black. And then her head is a Deadly Origin Black Widow head. I thought the face and all of that, the makeup, looks plenty good as is, and I did not modify it at all. This is not me painted. I did not change anything with her face whatsoever. I just took her hair off and resculpted that. So all of that is me. So this is hard sculpted epoxy sculpt on the top. All of this is hard sculpted epoxy sculpt. The braid, if you want to call it that, because I don't know how to braid hair, and I figured that out when I tried to do this. I thought I knew what I was doing, but no. I basically twisted the hair up, but they're in twists. It's not braided, so it's not the way it should look. But one thing that's there is that it's actually a bendy wire in there, so you can actually bend the hair in any direction. You wouldn't be able to bend it at the top part where it's connected to her head, because you would just break it off. But you could, let's go ahead and take that and do this, and then do this, because it is Procreate putty, so it's going to be all right for a little bit of bending. Don't go too crazy, but it is there. And yeah, we're kind of done with this turnstile here. If I can, okay, there we go. So yeah, this figure is like the last one that I did for the Black Widow stuff, and if I can't get it to focus, this thing really doesn't like me. There we go. But yeah, this is the last Black Widow figure that I made. All of these Black Widow things that I've made over the last few months. So yeah, I think that is all. I think one thing I wanted to say is that if you go back for a second, if you really wanted a Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite Black Widow, but you just don't know how to customize or whatever, I think a good substitute is actually this movie Black Widow. You can see how very similar they are. They both have the gold gauntlets, and they have grays and blacks in them. They're very similar. You can just do a head swap. Obviously this one's much shorter because I customized mine to be taller, but in general this is still a good stand-in for Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite Black Widow. Maybe do a head swap and get rid of these little baton things, but and if you just want to do a little bit of painting, you can just fudge it and maybe change these black pieces here and make them blue. You already got holsters for your guns and stuff like that. This is already gold. Yeah, and it's fine. Like, it would be cool. Obviously it's not this, but it is what it is. Anyway, that's it for Black Widow. I'm not keeping all of these figures. I can't. My shelf back there is meant for all of that back there, which now I wanted to focus. And now you're looking at Wonder Woman's legs. But you can see some women of Marvel. You can see Jane Foster back there, my Moonstone that I made, Elsa Bloodstone, Invisible Woman, little Squirrel Girl action, little Hela maybe, if you can possibly focus on that. But yeah, that shelf is going to be only Marvel ladies and only the ones that I can keep, and I don't have any Black Widows over there right now, and that shelf is already full, so I can't add. I don't even know how many Black Widows I just made or just showed. Maybe it's like 10 or 12. I can't add all of those to that shelf, so more than half of these are going to get sold for sure. So be on the lookout on eBay if you're interested in any of these, whether they are the official released figures or the customs that I've made, because I will sell at least the white Deadly Origin Black Widow custom, at least that one, and I think I'm selling the Hellfire Gala as well, but not necessarily right away, but it will happen, so keep on the lookout. That's all I got to say, and until next time, peace.